Welcome back to Sincerely V.
I am Vanessa Jan, and I'm still having an incredible conversation with Mrs. Rawlings. So I want to get into you being able to balance being a mom and a presidential candidate. What would you say are some of the challenges that you face?
Yeah. Well, Vanessa, to begin with, my children are no more children.
Right.
They are adults, and so handling them is a little more different than what I would have done if they were really young.
Right.
They have their own opinions about things and their perceptions about issues and their advice that they give me, you know, from an adult's perspective. But yes, sometimes it's a challenge because to be able to do it, you must have their consent also. I like to talk to them about it.
Okay.
And not consent as giving me the okay, but to understand the position from where I'm coming from.
Right.
The capacity to be able to perform, the capability to be able to change things, and the passion to be able to make Ghana better.
Right.
So they look at all those things and then maybe give me the
go ahead.
The tick, yeah.
And so you also have grandchildren.
I do.
How are you able to balance being a grandmother, being a mom, and being a presidential candidate?
Okay. Now that the grandchildren are here, they're definitely going to ask me a lot of questions about it. They haven't started yet.
Okay.
They are more into asking me about their mom and what it's about and all that, and I tell them about it. And I also tell them about the NDP and what it stands for. They're a little confused because one of them is just 4 years.
Okay.
One of them has just turned 7 or 8, and the other one is 10.
Okay,
but
so there's
I think that there has to be a neat, three of them.
Okay.
3 of them. Okay. There has to be a neat balance between whatever you're doing politically and whatever you do socially, and even from the family point of view. So I don't see any contradictions there.
Okay.
And as a woman, I multitask.
Yes.
So that makes it easier for me.
Right.
But to be able to give it thought, it's good to bring the children on board and ask their opinions on some of these things.
And you mentioned NDP and what it stands for, trying to explain it to your grandchildren.
Yes.
What does NDP stand for?
NDP stands for National Democratic Party. And the objectives that we've set before us is to make sure that people are empowered better than the way they're being empowered today.
Okay.
To see a change in our nation that can actually propel us into the so-called middle income level country that they pipe but don't actually do.
Right.
It's one thing to talk about how good you can become a footballer. It's another thing saying, I am a good footballer.
Exactly.
And people can see that you're a good footballer and you play well. So NDP is looking at mobilizing people. Mobilizing people for productivity.
Okay.
Changing lives. And changing lives in a way that will actually help the country to grow.
Okay.
We're looking at moving away from the arts subjects or humanities, as I heard the president saying the other day, literally saying exactly what I had said.
Right.
And going into skill training.
Okay.
Because I'm saying that the technical and the skill training will be the future for Ghana. If you look at Japan, before Japan became what it is today, they were a very different country.
Right.
But they moved away from just academia and just churning out people who couldn't get jobs, and moved into areas where they would train people who actually would have jobs or start their own businesses. Today, Japan is an example. Can't we learn something from some of these people? So these are things that the NDP is seeking to do.
Okay, and why the name NDP?
It's the National Democratic party. And we're looking at its national view of issues. At the same time, we want it to be very democratic and not autocratic. We're looking at our constitution and how it helps in the democratic dispensation of our people, and then using that to actually propagate the objectives of our party.
And being a woman, of course, we know a woman can run Ghana, but do you feel like you will get the support that is needed?
It's a hope.
It's a hope.
It's a hope because we have tried the men since independence. We've seen their capacity. We've seen their capabilities. Try a woman. Let's see what the women can do. I was telling somebody that when your children have no food on their table, you don't go and set up a committee and try to analyze how you're going to put food on the table. You think immediately on your feet and make sure that there's food on the table for the children. Trust me, when women are given the opportunity, I know they can perform. I know.
I read somewhere that people feel like women are maybe too emotional, and that we're too emotional.
Depends who is saying it. If it's a man telling you that, hey, you know where we're going. If it's a woman who is saying that, she's definitely not empowered. Both ways, it's not a gender sensitive position. So we need people who are gender sensitive to understand these issues. Who thought Margaret Thatcher could do what she did?
That's
thought
true.
So?
That's very true.
The Queen has been there how many years now? She literally guides and she teleguides things. You know? So even in the Islamic areas where you go to Sri Lanka, you go to places like India, you go to Bangladesh, you go to Pakistan, you see so many women in certain positions. And I think they have helped to change those countries. So give a woman a chance.
And how
give it a try.
Give it a try, definitely. How would you say women can empower each other as a whole?
I think it's something that we need to do all the time. We take one woman as an example. Look at how she's able to, how she does her work, how she runs her home, how she runs her business, and you actually use her as the example for others to emulate. So as women, I think that we can empower each other just by explaining things, coming out and putting our issues before other women, for them to understand. We want every woman who has a passion in here to want to bring out passion, that passion out, and let it work, not just for her, but for her community as well. Because I know it's possible.
It is, definitely. And what message do you have for a woman who is looking to get into politics and aspires to get into that field?
Every woman who is getting into politics should just put their cap on properly, tune their hearts in the right places, and go for it.
Yes, and thank you so, so much. Today, you've definitely fulfilled something in me, and you definitely inspire me as a woman, as even being in the public eye, and the way you've been able to still be so strong and so in tune with who you are. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
You are amazing, and definitely I will be coming for my cooking lessons.
Definitely, more than cooking lessons.
Thank you.
I'll be available to you anytime you want.
Thank you so much. I hope all of you have been inspired just as I have been by Mrs. Rawlings. I definitely am taking so much away from my conversation with her today. This was Sincerely V. I am Vanessa Jan. See you next week.